Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. We're recording.
Beautiful.
Welcome everyone to episode 7. I'm very excited today because I've got some deep things to talk about. But most importantly, I've got the lovely Ben Gall with me. Say hello, Ben. How you doing?
Hey, man. And you pronounced my last name right, so off to a good start.
Very good. Very good. Now, isn't that like a tiger? A Bengal tiger?
There 100% is a Bengal tiger, and that has been the childhood nickname since before I could even really remember.
Very good. I quite like that. That is quite a little. It rolls off the tongue. Do you know what I mean?
It does, doesn't it?
But yeah. So today is going to be a bit of a deep one. All right, audience. I've made a discovery, right? That a lot of the time, me and Ben, for example, let's just take both of us. We have big dreams, right? We have big aspirations and big goals that we want to achieve. And of course, in our mind, we're heading out in a direction where you go, right, I'm going to get those things, I'm going to do them, and nothing's going to stop me. However, the human mind is a very interesting thing. There's a little thing in the middle of our brain, right? A little lizard brain who likes to play games with us, all right? And I don't know if have you ever heard of something called F.E.A.R, Ben?
Oh, I'm all too familiar with it, mate.
Yeah. F.E.A.R, capital F.E.A.R. The most annoying thing on the planet. I made a discovery, right? That I was postponing my own ability and quote unquote greatness, my own potential. And I was making all these excuses like, oh, but this might happen. Oh, but this might happen. Oh, but if I do this, this might be a problem. Scratch that, people. Seriously, there is nothing worse on this planet than being afraid and not taking that leap of faith. Now, Ben, a question for you. And I'm sure you will have something to say 100% because I'm sure every single human on this planet has experienced exactly that. Now, what is your relationship with fear and how that has implemented your career and how that is,
What a question, Benito. Love it right off the bat. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a cheesy age-old saying, but the best things in life do lie on the other side of fear, and that's cheesy to say, but it's true. And it's funny how it can be on levels. Like it can be, you're talking about something so tiny that is a fear that you just can't get over. And for me, that was, I don't know if we've discussed this before, but I'm quite dyslexic. And that meant that I was like at school, didn't put my hand up. I was like, the idea of me having to read something, of me having to speak something, didn't do it. And I think that affected my overall schooling.
Yeah.
This fear of getting, of like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Or, oh yeah, I'll give this a try. The idea of trying, no. I'm way too afraid to. And when I got to uni, I was just like, you just can't let that be a thing anymore. And so just kept pushing, and I'm really proud I did that. I think from a very early age, I learned that with some parts of fear, I don't know how this is going to come out, but you just have to go, screw it. It's the best, because I by the time I was 14, I'd lived in 4 different countries. So 4 different countries, always a new school, always having to make new friends from the ground up. Some countries we'd like, when I moved to the UK, no connections. We had 1 friend, and we were moving here to do high school and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, you're gonna get left behind massively if you don't do that. And I know it's another, I'm just coming up with all the cheesiest things I could say, Benito, but hey, it's good stuff. But you sometimes do have to kind of say to yourself, what is honestly the worst thing that could happen here? And if it's a little bit of, if it's trying something in an audition, if it's trying something as a director on set for the day, and you just go, yeah, this might not land, but we're going to give it a go anyway. And you do, and worst things worse, doesn't work, and you move on. You do a different thing. Especially in film, we've got takes. And one of my one of my many jobs in order to pay rent. I work at an immersive theatre experience, and if I haven't done one for if I haven't done a show for about a week, or maybe a week and a half, right before my first entrance, there's a very high pitched noise that plays, and then I walk in. There's a part of me that goes, "Shit, how do we do this again?" Like right before the noise goes off of, "What's the first thing we do?" "Oh, this beep." Off we go. Yeah, and sometimes fear is good. Sometimes fear keeps you alert. Sometimes fear keeps you moving. Just makes you go, okay, we're gonna do this. The first time I did I had to, the live experience that I work at, you do a couple of shows with another actor, so you see how it works, and then they let you do your own show. My first show, I don't remember it. It went by so quickly on my own, and I realized that the fear was just keeping me moving. There was never a moment of like, oh God, what am I going to say if it goes quiet? What am I going to say if it goes dull? What am I going to say if something goes wrong? And I have to sort of think on my feet. Didn't think that because the fear was keeping me moving. The fear was keeping me awake. The fear was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I think that is, that's another part of fear but it's balance. It's balance. We can't have it be where, for example, for me, when you go and put your best foot forward and then that foot gets chopped off, you don't need to run away and like fester in your bedroom, for example, as a safe space. You shouldn't do that. Okay. Like, yes, it's safe, but it does not align with your values and your goals. Now, I haven't introduced Ben properly because I was a bit, intense, but Ben is a director. And he's also, I'd say you're an actor too. You're an actor.
As much as I denied it a few years ago, I'm like, oh, I still kind of am, aren't I?
Yeah. So Ben is a director and an actor. I've worked with Ben. I've known Ben from college and also working on a short film with him. So this is how I know Ben. He's not just some random guy plucked off the street. But yeah, he's a really great guy. So I'm happy you're on here. I'm happy you're on here. But yes, balance is so important. And another thing, look, you can take it with a pinch of salt, but I do believe in energy and spirit. And I believe that our ancestors are in our DNA, or everything that's come down from the past has come down to us at this point in wherever we are right now. And they bring everything from their life, from their feelings, their way of approaching things. But the great thing about being like where we are now is that we can take the good and the bad from both sides of family, from both sides of wherever we've been brought into. We can take and use those things in our own way, which I think is important, guys. Like, I can't reiterate, like, you just need to take that leap of faith. Just do it. Because it's funny how many times I've made excuses to something that I thought, wow, that's actually good for me. This is a good thing. But it's like, why would I do that? Why would I postpone that for myself? It's just so strange, man.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Sorry to interrupt, but I 100% agree. I in the past couple of years as well, I've realized that when people hear the phrase leap of faith, they always think it's this massive moment right before you make a decision, right before you say, yeah, sure, I will do that. Or, okay, let's give this a go. I like to think of it as a deep breath of faith. There's just this little moment of just, okay.
Like the beep.
Yeah, exactly. It's just this little beep, like right before, really, in we go. I like what you said a lot about the ancestors thing, because my granddad, my mum's dad, is someone who I hold very, very close to my heart. But sadly, I didn't know him for a very long time. He passed away when I was 5, I think. Right. But he's someone who, there's so many stories. There's a whole goddamn television series about how many lives he's lived. Like it's insane. And all over the world, people kind of knew his name. And when he passed away, actually, the church his funeral was in, with people were spilling out into the street. Like there wasn't enough room in the church, the amount of people that showed up. And he's someone that over the years, both my mum and other people in my life have said to me, God, you're so much like Tom. And that's really weird because it's someone I have no, I was 4 or 5, you know,
Yeah.
I don't really have any memories of him, unfortunately. But to know that someone's like, yeah, you remind me of him. I see there's parts of you in parts of him in you. And when I have a big decision, I'll genuinely sometimes go, if he was around, he'd be really disappointed if I didn't do that, or if I didn't give that a try, or if I didn't just, what would I be proud, even if it didn't go right, what would I be proud if he was still alive to go home and say, never guess what I did today? Or guess what? I did it. Did it work? No. But did I do it? Yes. And that pride, even though he's not around to feel it, I'm like, no, I want that feeling of, you can do this, and even if it doesn't succeed, you can still say you did it.
That's beautiful. Thank you for your honesty there. That's
Yeah.
really interesting thing. Like there is like, I need to think about this because it's so hard to put into words. Look, like I said before, if you don't, you know, believe in this sort of stuff, that's fine. But like, take it with a pinch of salt because I do believe there's some truth in it. But we do carry them in our cells. Their DNA is a part of us, you know. But I think with what we do in particular, Ben, in this industry where it's very cutthroat, it's very difficult. A lot of the time, I can go from an actor's perspective too. When rejection happens, when nothing's clicking, the work's not coming through, it is so easy and it makes so much sense just to hide and to stay away for a bit and to be comfortable.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, that is completely fine. If you are doing that
should
right
absolutely be a little bit of what happens. You have
100%.
a moment, you let it happen, let the sadness, the annoyance, whatever, let that wash over you, because that's important.
Feel it. That is what is key. But what you should not do is do that every time you get put in the dirt, because that's not growth. You need to get up quicker next time.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, the world doesn't wait for anyone, including you, including me, including Ben. We got to make it ourselves. So Ben, what would you say to those people who are, you know, having that experience currently or in the future? What would you say is something that you've learned from your experience that you think would benefit those people in those moments?
Very good question. It's a very deep question. I like where we're going with this. Yeah, you know, like you said, you are allowed to. There are people I know who don't think they're allowed to have a moment to recover. They just they get the bad news, whether it be to do with this industry or whether it be to do anything, and they just go, right, okay, need to fix the next. It's like, no, you can have a moment, have an evening where you my comfort food is Australian Tim Tams. I have a drawer of them. I'm looking at the drawer right now.
Nice.
I will have my double coated, because you got to go double coated. I'll have my double coated Tim Tams. I will watch a series that makes me feel happy, like Scrubs or something like that, and I'll have that little night to myself. I'll go to bed, and then the next morning you wake up and you get going.
Yep.
You're allowed to have that. You're allowed to have that evening. You're allowed to have that night. I don't know if this is pessimistic or not, but something that made me realize is, I'm like, there are so many people in the world. There are so many people in our industry, and what I realized doing drama college, and then also going to film school, and then being in the industry, is I realized how many people give up at the first hurdle. Was quite a awakening. I was like, what do you mean? Why are you stopping? And you know, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna fall. But what I realized was, so many people are stopping at the first hurdle. That kind of gives you a leg up. If you do keep running, if you do keep going, even if it's just one, just don't think about the bigger goal. Sometimes just go, okay, well, what's the next step? What's the one next thing after? Don't go, oh, I didn't get that one audition, therefore my Academy Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role is it's gone. It's gone. That opportunity's never coming again. You know, it's like, oh, okay, well, what's the next little thing? And keep, you know, what's the next step, and eventually, before you realize it, you're half a flight of stairs away.
Exactly.
And yeah, so many people drop at the first one that it gives you a leg up by just doing the next step. And it's sad, and I won't go into too much detail or name names because that's not fair.
Of course not. That would be horrid.
That would be horrible. But I was actually chatting to a friend of both of ours, Will Allen, who I've worked with for 5 years now. I've been putting him in movies, and we did this film a while ago now. And this person was working on it. I won't say in what capacity. And they were a very first hurdle person, but they were a head of department. And it was a bit like, you can't do that as a head of department because everyone else is counting on you in certain way, shape, or form. And this person had really good ideas, and really we were like, this guy's good, but he keeps letting himself. He keeps getting in his own way. And that's what I've noticed most, and I think you've probably seen the same, where the actual things that stop people are your own hurdles, not the hurdles that the industry puts in front of you, that the rejection puts in front of you. It's your own hurdles.
Exactly that. I mean, the literal thing I was saying earlier, the excuses that you put in front of it because you're afraid, the things being like, oh, but if I do this, but it's like worrying about things that haven't happened yet. And you're trying to solve those things that haven't happened. But hang on,
Pointless.
you're not even there yet. So what are you doing?
You're not even there yet.
You can worry about it once you're there. Oh, I have a part-time job and I want to join a company, but I don't know how to balance the part-time. You haven't even got in the company yet, brother.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You can worry about that once you've secured your position. Because then it's like counterproductive, and then you're stopping yourself from actually going to do that thing. But sorry for interrupting you. I just had to. I wanted to say that.
I completely agree. And the thing is, you're always allowed to have hurdles. I think there's this mindset. I don't know really where it originated from, but you just see when you're scrolling, when you're doom scrolling at 1 a.m. on Instagram, and you just see these motivational things, and you see these, you know, people on podcasts.
I'll show you how great I am.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't let myself have hurdles because I'm just that good. And it's like, no. You do have hurdles, and you're completely allowed to. It's about it's what's that saying? It's not the measure of a person is not how hard you fell. It's whether or not you got up afterwards.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's I know that we're starting to get into like really, like they play that really cheesy music at the end of these these little clips, but it is true, and I think the person that's taught me that the most is my mum, because my mum is the person who, of course, has been traveling with me to all these countries and has been going. When we moved here, she's, you know, I thankfully have 2 passports, which is how I was able to come here so easily. She doesn't. So she came here, no passport, just a visa, didn't have a job yet, didn't have any connections to the workforce or anything. Cut to, what are we now? We'll be 9 years in August that I've been living in the UK. And we live in a very lovely part of London. We have she's got her lovely friendship group. She just went away to Dublin for 3 days with her friends that she made through work. She's working at a school she really loves as a teacher. Like it's, and that was all because she was like, okay, that didn't work out. Okay, well, I'm going to have the evening to myself, and then tomorrow I'm going to keep looking, and eventually it will come. That's the thing. I know it always sounds kind of like one day it will come. It's like, yeah, it's not going to fall into your lap, but if you do keep doing it, if you do keep getting up, it will. And that sounds weird to say, but it does. I've seen it.
Yeah. All it takes is one day to change your life. I think there was a Oscar winner, she won loads of awards. I think her name is Divine or Devine. I don't know. I feel like I'm butchering that.
Divine, is it Divine Joyce Randolph?
Yes.
Yes.
And she said that exact thing to like all like the people waiting in the wings, which is a nice little thing. Said that all it takes is one day for your life to change. One day, and everything will shift. And I think that's really. I think I might have said that in a previous episode, but I don't care. It's a really great quote. It's just so good, and it's just good to remind everyone as well. Like as long as you're doing the best you can every day,
Mm.
just like how your mum did. Look, it didn't work out that evening. Then she went, right, let's go get it the next day and let's continue. That is the probably the best way to go about like anything. Absolutely anything. But again, it takes time to reach there. I wouldn't say, you know, as humans, we grow, we develop. It's not like you have to be like so good at that already. It's of course it's practice. You know, what we're saying is like the best case scenario. Okay. But either way, if you can, do it like, you know, how Ben said. Chill in that evening, have the time by yourself, eat your Tim Tams, right? Have whatever you want. The next day, get back up and get to it. Today's a motivational episode.
It really is. Wow.
It is that episode. I just have that vibe, you know. Ever since honestly, I had this discovery like pretty much today and yesterday. Right? Yesterday I went out to try and join a theatre company because I was like, right, I'm fed up of being like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Oh, everything's so like, I was like, just go to an amateur theatre company, and if it's what you want, if it's acting you want to do, go there, audition for it. You're more than likely going to get in. Got to have that confidence. You're more than likely going to get in, and then you can do it while having the part-time job, right?
Yeah.
It's all well and good to have a job, to have an agent, to have all of those foundational things, and that's great. Well done if you do have it, and I'm also
Oh,
saying
yeah,
that
that's
to my
fantastic. That's fantastic.
It's great. I graduated in summer, and look, it's crazy progress. However, I am now in a privileged position where I have time, money, an agent, a job. Now, let's go above and beyond, so then I can get to where I need to go. So that goes for all you people, right? Do that. That is, if you have that position, don't waste it. You know, like
Yeah, I really like what Divine Joyce Randolph said about the idea of people waiting in the wings, because I think people sometimes feel like in our industry, if they're not doing the job they dreamed of, then they feel like they're not in the industry yet. But it's the thing of no, you are in. You just obviously but you have higher aspirations, which is great. Like, yeah, chase that next step. But the amount of people that I know where it's like you are there, you're in the industries, which is, and I think sometimes we forget to. What's that really cheesy thing of like the only person you should be comparing yourself is to who you were a year ago? Yeah. Looking back
is yourself.
Yeah, and you talk about opportunities and everything. Of course you have. I was about to say, have you met Kiefer? Of course you've met Kiefer. He was the producer on the film. He's my roommate. He's my filmmaking partner, and I probably shouldn't say what, so I won't say what. But we were like, we wanted to work on something. We had this thing of like, well, what if it was this? So we just pitched it to a group of people, and we got it. And it was just, yeah, let's just do that. And we did, and it worked out. It worked out well. And yeah, so many things like the film that you and I worked on together. Yeah. When that comes out at the end of this year, that'll have been 4 years of my life working on that film. And oh, you're telling me. I always wondered, I'm like, how did directors always say, oh yeah, that was 7 years of my life? Well, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, oh no, I see how that happens now. But there are so many times where, God, there are so many times I could have stopped. There were so many hurdles that came in our way, so many. And on this rare occasion, I'll say none of them us. It was other things happening. But I wanted to get this film made, and so did Kiefer. And we kept just making. Again, we were both working other jobs. We were both. I think I was working, 3 jobs at the time, but made the time, made the effort, and we're really, really bloody happy with what we have.
Awesome.
All because, and you're great in it. Your one line is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. Every time we have to do a screening of it for like sound or color or something, your line comes up. I'm like, hey.
I get that.
There he is. That was a great couple of days. It's that thing of I have to remind myself. I'm like, oh, I'm doing the job. I'm doing the thing I want to do. Sure, it's not. I guess it's technically not to the scale that I would like to have at some point, but it doesn't mean I'm not doing the job. And I think that only ever clicks whenever I've wrapped a film. That's only when it clicks is when I went, oh, I just did the thing. I just did the thing that we want to do. It's gone now. And sometimes you forget to stop and think about it and go, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, what do you think is a good way of approaching like doing that in the moment? Like, how do you think? Because I've had that. I've had times where you only realize that you've done it after you've done it, right? What do you think is a good way of doing that while in that high pressure environment? While as the director, you're the leader, right? You have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. But whether it's a director, producer, actor, DOP, whatever the position is, what do you think is a good way of doing exactly that? Understanding you are doing what let's say your young dream was.
There are two things sprung to mind when you said that. One is, and someone very close to me once told me to do it, because I have a tendency to very much always be thinking about next step.
What to do next.
Next step. What's this? What's that? I'd love. Okay, cool. Because I've done this, it means I get to do this, and because this happens, we'll do this. And someone very close to me once said, you keep doing that, just take a moment, breathe, look around. And they said this to me on, I was in a very privileged place when I was 20 to make my first feature film. And there's a crew of like, I want to say 30 people. It was a small cast, but a big crew. And we're filming in this big house that we had for like 2 weeks. We're filming in there, and there's people moving all over the place, and they're carrying shit up the stairs, and the whole floor's been covered in like a protective carpet, and there's wires all over the place for connected to generators so that the lights have power. And I remember standing at the bottom of the staircase, and her words played in my head, and I was kind of like, okay, let's give this a try. And I remember just breathing in, breathing out, and then just watching her. And everyone seemed to move slower once I'd said that. Everything was kind of moving a bit slower, and I was like, that's pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment. And the other thing is on Blackout, the film we worked on, that cast and that crew was 98% handpicked. Like it was all people that we love, like, and that we have worked with. I mean, Chantel Richardson, for the example, the director of photography, I'm pretty sure she's a dark sorcerer with the way she's able to do the thing she is with a camera. It's insane. And I love working with her. We've worked together, I think 3 times now. And her, and then also William Allen, we've worked with, Ella Skinner, who's a fantastic actor. She was in the film as well. All of them, because they're such close friends outside of work, they're also able to every now and again, like, put their hand on my shoulder and go, this is pretty cool, isn't it? And I remember when we did this, there's this scene in the film, quite a long monologue, that Ella has to do, and she absolutely smashed it on the day. Not that she didn't in rehearsals, but particularly smashed it on the day. And we'd been rehearsing this film since May of 21, and we were finally in the last couple of days of filming in April of 23 of about this time last year, actually. That just clocked. This time last year, damn. And it was, I think, the first scene we were shooting in this like second block of filming, and we shot it, and I was really focused on Cameron, her performance, and it all went really well. And I was like, oh, fantastic, super happy, moving on. And she stopped me. She put her hand on my arm, and I turned and I was like, hey, what's up? And she was like, we're never doing that scene again. And I was like, oh, because I knew that monologue off by heart, and we had been rehearsing that in studios, in my living room, like for I mean, at that point, years we'd been rehearsing that scene, and we did it, and it was done.
Wow.
We were never seeing it again, and I was like, oh, that's a really good point. And you know, you saw Will's big monologue, which is like 7 pages long.
Yeah, sick.
Sorry, Will. My bad. As the person who wrote your 7-page monologue, I apologize. And he absolutely smashed it, and I think we spent like almost all day on that scene, and it was like, oh my god, done. And still listening to and editing, I know those words so well. I know every cadence of every line of every sentence. But yeah, I had to sort of every now and again when we finished doing some of those sequences, I said to myself, take that in that's done. Because also I feel like it's a bit of a sense of achievement of like, there it is, and the checklist gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you're wrapping on the last shot suddenly.
So it's essentially like just taking the time while all this action is going on, like with the first example, just breathe, take it in, and just acknowledge that being present basically is what it is.
Yeah,
being present in the moment.
It's true.
Yeah, being present in that moment seems to be the way to go. And I've been told that many times by my teachers. They say I'm like 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. It's like, and now I said, so, but I understand. It's like you have to be in the moment to be able to appreciate that what you're doing is what your little 8, 9-year-old self wanted to do for however long. And if they saw what you were doing, it's like, oh, look at us.
I've had that exact thought. I've had the sort of what would in both good moments and bad moments when on set in whatever capacity of what would if I turned around and saw 8-year-old Ben standing in the doorway, would he be like,
yeah,
what you doing there? You know what you know, I think, you know, make him proud. Do something that you would be really proud to tell your younger self that you did, or that you tried. Not necessarily that you had to succeed at it, because sometimes it's not always going to land, but at least you did it. At least you tried. We had at film school, there was this thing where there were a lot of people who I think felt that it meant that they were going to just give you opportunities. Here's the opportunity. Do this, do that. And it's more sort of like they'll sort of put the opportunity on the floor and sort of be like, that's there if you want it, but we're not really going to do much about it, which isn't a great thing for a uni. But there were so many people that I remember at the end of the course said, yeah, I just, you know, the uni sucked because I never got the chance to, you know, I want to be a director and I never got the chance to do any directing. And I'm sort of sitting there, I was at the pub across the road from the uni, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, but you didn't put yourself forward for any directing. Our uni had so many modules where you got to make something. I made 2 documentaries, 1 short film, and a feature at uni. All because I just was like, I want to do it. Put myself forward, put my heart and soul into a pitch. Pitch gets accepted. We're on set in a month.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's sometimes those opportunities aren't going to be offered to you, but they're sort of just out of reach. And if you went, it's out of reach though, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it is technically out of reach, but you could get closer. You could try what you could to get in there.
Exactly that. You can try just to, because a lot of the times, unfortunately, people, we like to think that things should just be fed to us or like placed in our laps. But if
we've all definitely done that.
All of us have. But it's about learning. It's about learning and understanding that that's not how it works. If it's there, you got to go and bite it. You know, you got to go bite that spoon, right? Like, imagine if it's a silver spoon, no one's bringing it to you. You got to go to it, and you got to take that bite. But Ben, my
Can that
final
be
question.
can that be merch for the Actors Unscripted podcast? Can it be bite the spoon? And then it's just a spoon.
So bite the spoon.
Bite
you know
the
what?
spoon.
Future endeavors. But my final question for you is, what out of everything that we've spoken about today, or it can be whatever you want in general, what is a piece of advice that you give to our viewers who are aspiring directors, actors, writers, anything to do with the industry? Now, this is a hard question. You can think about it as long as you want. But what is something that you think would be valuable to these people?
Prepare to edit out a long pause.
Of course. No worries at all.
And I leave all this in. Just the viewers going, skip.
I think I will.
Just for the purposes of the edit. The thing I've said to a lot of people that want to write is the best. I love this phrase, even though it sounds really dumb. The best way to learn how to write is to read. You want to be a screenwriter? Get your hands on every screenplay you can. I've got that entire shelf that is all paperback screenplays. Right. So what's you think of, like, okay, what are 3 films that you adore and you constantly watch them? Try and see if the screenplay of that is out. What is it about that script that keeps making you come back and watch the film over and over and over again? Is it maybe not even the script? Is it something that's visual that isn't there in the paper? What I can't over the importance of just watching stuff is so important. Stuff that you like, but also stuff that isn't really your thing sometimes. I'll get there. Hang on.
No, you're good. Honestly, take all the time you need.
Yeah, advice. It's tricky because obviously I'm still in the period of taking advice. Well, I suppose you always are. You should never stop taking advice.
Always learning.
Always learning. Always learning. If you think you've learned all there is, then you couldn't even be more tip of the iceberg than you understand. It's taking every opportunity, and it's like if you want to be a director, don't think about, okay, how can I get a crew of 20 people? How can I rent out this giant warehouse where I'm going to do this epic fight scene and I need a stunt choreographer and everything. Take your little I don't have it on me. I do have it on me actually. I've got a camera that big. It's my pride and joy. I love it. And myself, William Allen, Tom Allen, who you know very well, and another friend of mine, Hugo Rich. It was the summer of 2018, and we just wanted to make a movie, so we did. We didn't have a script. We didn't have. We spent. I think the entire budget was $20, and we spent it on a bit of food that we bought because we were filming at a restaurant that let us film there with my tiny camera. And afterwards we were like, we should probably buy some food because they've been really kind and let us film in here for free. And yeah, I think it took us, it's like a 30-minute short, and it took us 2 months of filming. It was always like after school, on the weekends, something, but we kept at it. At the end of the day, it still looks and sounds and feels like a film that was made by a bunch of 17-year-olds, but we still did it. Yeah. And it still made us go, we did it. We're proud of it. I learned a lot. And there's still things that I learned on that set with 4 people making a movie that I still use now when I've got a crew of 25. It's still the same mentality. So like you said, it's always about learning, and it's just about doing. We live in a really great era for up and coming filmmakers, in the sense that you can I know you've heard 1,000 people probably say this, but you can make a film on your phone. And that just to say that to someone 25 years ago is what do you mean I can make a film on my Nokia brick? but the idea that now we can do that. There's kind of, if you want to do something, just make a 2-minute, make a 2-minute short about a killer coffee mug. Don't do that actually, because I've just thought of that. That's a good idea. I'm gonna bury that away.
Copyrighted.
Copyright Bengal. But yeah, it's unbelievable what you can do. I love finding weird and wacky little shorts that people have made, and then I go onto their account and there's like a backlog of like 35-minute shorts that they've made. I'm like, oh, this is my evening. This is all I'm doing tonight. Is I'm just watching. I've got my Tim Tams. I'm just going to watch all this guy's short films. That's a really fun thing to stumble across. And the more you do that, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the next time you feel more confident to handle something bigger. And slowly it's going to get bigger, and slowly your backlog will speak for itself. And it's funny because the thing I think I learned the most on the recent film that we did is that I wouldn't have made that if I had known. I don't think I would have made that when I'm at this age if I'd known if I was told ahead of time, this is what's going to happen, this is the undertaking, this is that, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been like, what are you talking about? I am way too inexperienced and too young. But I didn't know better, and in one of those small cases it worked. Not knowing better worked, and just learning that the team around you is so important. It's a ship is only as good as the crew that sails her, and having a good crew on a set changes everything. I mean, that set that we were on, that was the best crew I've ever worked with, and they were insanely good, insanely efficient, and what they were able to conjure. And the last thing I'll say, because I think not enough people sometimes call people out for this, is check that ego, mate. Check that ego at the door. Dangerous. It's so dangerous. And there was a really good, we went to the same drama college a few years apart, and there was this head teacher at the time that I think I was helping with induction on on the new sick forms or something, and they all came in, and he's doing this speech, and it's your classic head teacher speech, so sometimes it's a bit wank. But then it came to the point where he said, I mean, God, how many people would you say would be on the average sixth form year at our college? Like 80?
Probably around 80 to 100, I'd say.
80 to 100 kids, all in one room, all in one studio, all getting this induction talk. And he said, how many of you have been the lead in your school play? And I want to say 95% of the hands went up. And he went, exactly. You are no longer the small fish and the big fish in the small pond. And the amount of people that I have seen at different levels where it's like, check that at the door, mate. We did a film where we had someone who it was there. I mean, they'd been in the industry for what's a nice number that doesn't make them sound too old. Let's say 25, 30 years. They've been in the industry. They've been doing this for ages. They were on our film, very small role, but they rocked up. They actually rocked up an hour earlier than their call time, and we were behind schedule by 45 minutes. So they weren't getting on camera for probably about 2 hours. But they literally, I remember watching the AD say this to them, and they went, okay, cool, I'll just chill here then. And they got costume ready, they got makeup ready. I think you know the actor I'm talking about as well. A lot of makeup.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
A lot of makeup. And they were chilling with the essays. They were joking around with the costume department. They were telling stories. I think we had to tell you guys to shush at one point because you were laughing too much.
Yeah.
Came on, 2 shots, 1 line of dialogue, left, had a great time. Another performer was their first ever film. This is a different project. It was their first ever film, and asking why things were taking so long, asking why they rocked up so early. Why was their call time this when they're not on camera for another hour? It's like, well, yeah, because you gotta get in costume and makeup, and yeah, they were. It was a little bit like, whoa, don't know if we're gonna work with you again because this wasn't good, and it's that thing of realizing you're the cog in the machine, and something I have told a lot of actors who are just starting out is 7% of what you do as an actor on a film set is get in costume, get in makeup. Can you stand on your actually no, a little bit hang on, can we take it from your first line, because we just want to sit no, sorry, not your first line from that position, and then we'll do a little bit to your left. Yeah, fantastic. 3% of what you do is acting, is doing takes, is acting on camera, is rehearsing, is doing bits, is working out little details. 90% of what you do is sitting around. 90% of what you do is waiting to come on. Actually, sorry, we don't need you right now. We're doing something else. Back to green room, back to trailer, whatever it is. And some people handle that perfectly because they've checked the ego at the door, and some people can't handle that and get very annoyed when they're being pulled left, right, and center. But every role on the film, I know you said that like a director is a leader, which is very true, but the same thing is that every single one of them is a cog. Every single thing is a cog, and the clock isn't going to work if one cog has been removed. I've just noticed I can see the Actors Unscripted logo in the corner, and it kind of looks a little bit like a cog. So
it's like a little film thing.
I love it, and it's every piece is a cog in the machine, and you need to give it your all, no matter if you're, dropping off the lunches, or whether you're directing it and telling the actors where to go and where to stand and whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, entails. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Ben. That was really good.
Long-winded final answer. I do apologize.
No, that's great. That's great. Seriously, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Dude, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for giving us some knowledge that we need. It's important, especially for the youth, actors, anyone, all the creatives to get insight from people who have more experience. Especially at this time in this period. So again, I appreciate you coming on here. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you later. I'll catch you later with another deep episode, most likely.
Oh, I love it. I love a deep episode.
In a bit, guys. Thank you so much. See ya. And now he doesn't know how to end recording.
And now he doesn't know where the end button is.
There it is.